Hi guys, James here from 5 Star Rating 22. Alright guys, this is gonna be a little weird. The sound messed up on my video when I did this. I did this real time, but the sound messed up, so it's gonna be kind of weird. I'm gonna do the sound over at the narrative, but you'll see me talking, but the words won't match up. So it'll be a little weird, but I wanted to get this to you guys tonight, so I didn't want to wait and reshoot it. So I wanted to get it to you guys, and I've been working on it, trying to get the sound to work, but it wasn't working, so I'm just gonna do it this way. Alright, so this is the last part for the old tower for the first weekly challenge. I'm going to explain some things. You'll get to see the tower. I know the video quality turned out a little bit weird and stuff, but it's okay. It'll work. So, again, guys, I had a ton of fun making this. It turned out alright. I hope you guys enjoy it. I had a lot of fun. There's a lot of things I wish I would have had more time to do. But, you know, the cool thing is if you guys decide to make this, you'll have that time. You'll have as much time as you want. And I do plan on adding some more stuff to this thing later. But let's go ahead and you know, show you guys this model. So here it is, guys. Here's the final piece. You can see it turned out. It's pretty big size, and you can see that the kind of hidden thing that I wasn't letting you guys know is that I wanted to do it floating. And I've done floating objects before. I've done like some bases, and I've done some more smaller floating terrain type pieces, but I've never done anything of this size, a completely modular, you know, a completely big piece floating. So this was kind of like a test thing. I had made some things floating, so I had an idea of how to do this, but it was kind of like a test run, and I'm really actually I was really impressed with how it all turned out. I really like the effect that it gives. You know, it's great. It's like it'll be a great talking piece. I mean, like this is one, you know, you have your buddies over to play a game, and they're going to be, you know, wondering like, hey, you know, how'd you do that? That's pretty cool, you know, and it's something that inspires you to make it, you know, see if you can make it more realistic and make it better and make, you know, more floating pieces and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. And you can see there it's, you know, it's of good size. You can see with the orc, I put an orc there for reference. I had some pieces, and you can see that it's of decent size. That door frame is about twice the height of them, and then you see the floating steps there that I made as well. Those things will hold a decent amount of weight. You just got to kind of be careful with them. I had to do them a different way than I wanted to do them. I wanted to attach them to the base, but to save time again, I did them this way, and then, you know, that way you also have two options doing it. And you can see the rocks there. I wanted those kind of like in a floating position, and if you look at it from certain angles, it can be pretty convincing, you know, like if from an angle on top of like a tabletop when it's on there, it should be pretty good. Now, if I would have had more time, so I would have spent more time working on concealing it and having it in places where, you know, you wouldn't see the wire so much, and I probably would have painted up the wire in one of those colors that your eyes have a hard time picking up, or the color that most of the background's going to be. But I probably would have done it. I probably would have painted them like a mid-tone neutral gray. Would have been a really good color to paint them. So you can see there's pretty good clearance on the underneath the tower. That's, you know, it's above ground, and I'd say it's about, let's see, it'd be 3, 4. It'd be the tower is about, the base of it's floating about 4 inches off the ground is where I had it hovering. And you can see there what that is. The wire that's holding up those rocks is floral wire, and you can get a big pack of that at Walmart. Really cheap actually. I mean, it's pretty cheap. I bought a pack like forever ago, and I've used it for different things and stuff like that. But what I found out was it works really good for making things look like they're floating. It's pretty thin, but it's really strong. It's got a good strength to it, especially if you leave it, you know, nice and straight up and down, and you put weight only from the top angle on it. It actually is, you know, it's fairly tough, and then you still have the ability to manipulate it and move it around and bend it and stuff if you need to. So you can see there for the step there, I just took two pieces, measured it to size. It's just foam card for the base, which I cut out smaller than, you know, the rock step, and then just had two pieces down, and then put hot glue at both the ends, both the tips of the wire. That way it's not going to slide, you know, slide around up or down on you. I did want to make this 3 steps since it's up so high. It's kind of, you know, it's off scale with the steps going up. So I'm going to make a middle step, maybe even another shorter step that's right on the ground for this. But like I was saying before, you know, you can connect it to the base, and that's the way I originally wanted to do it. Have wire running down from underneath the tower base, and then kind of come at an angle then underneath the step. And I think that would have been a lot better effect, and then that way you can you know you don't have to worry about losing those pieces and everything like that. And I think it would make it so a little bit less seeable. And you see here, this is I decided to do this, save time on doing steps. I wanted to do floating steps in the tower originally, but I switched and decided to do teleport pads, just like, kind of an old school magical teleport pad. Now I just painted that blue. I am going to take a marker and draw like a swirl in there, that kind of like trippy psychedelic type, swirl into it and make it look a little bit more, snaz, or a little bit better. And then also I did make it modular, like I said, with the top floor being playable and then the bottom floor being playable as well. So you can take that off, and you can see there. It's a pretty big room. It's not bad size. You could fit quite a few guys in there. Now I only did 2 windows on this bottom floor. Now I want to make another level, another tier for this tower eventually. And what I would do on the next tier, if I made a second floor, and then have the top floor as well, so it'd have 3 levels. Is what I'm trying to say. I'd have a lot more windows on the second one. But it's nice with that backdrop there. You got kind of like an open canvas for adding stuff. Like I added those shields. Didn't take a lot of time on them. Didn't have a lot of time, but I added those to give it some more character, give it some more color to the tower. I also wanted to add torches to the inside, just some like toothpicks and cotton, and made up some some nice little torches to line the walls. But of course I didn't find time for that either, so I didn't get those done. But that's something that I can do still and add those on later. So another thing that I wanted to do was add a door. I've made drop bridges before where you use like the lead end weight of a jig. It's for fishing, for ice fishing. Even summer fishing, you can use them too, but it's like the lead, it's like a round lead ball with like a nice plastic coating, so you don't have to worry about touching lead, and then it's got like a nice eye loop on it. All you do is take and snip off the hook, and then you run it, like fishing line or some nice thin thread, sewing thread or something like that, you run it through that, tie it, and then you have the bridge at the top, have that kind of weighted at the end, so when you pull it down, the weight of the bridge on the end of it will hold the weights up towards the top of the door, and then when you go to close the door, the weights will drop down, and the weights will hold the door up. So, but I'll show you guys how to do that later. I've never done it this small, and I didn't want to go in working on it and not be able to, and have it not work and spend all that time when I only had a week to do this. So I didn't do that. But that's also why I left it open, so I can do that later, because I really wanted that on there. And then it's pretty good sized doors you've seen there with the Tau battle suit in there. And you can see, and for how I did the tower floating, it's just foam card again. And then those pillars that you see me painting up in the first part 5, I was painting those columns up. That's all what they were. It's just 5 columns underneath there. Now, if I would have had more time, I would have done more work making sure that I had the, because I have more than enough to support this foam. And even with the plaster in there, it's still really light, and it doesn't take much to support it. So I could have made those smaller. And as long as I have them pretty much directly below where the tower's sitting, I probably could have got away with 4 and moved them even closer together and had a smaller foam card platform there. But I put that there just to support it, and I could have made that smaller. So if you do it, make it smaller, make it more concealable, see how much you can conceal it. And then also with the rocks, if I would have took and lowered them, not had them hanging or floating up so high, and had them more at different levels, some really low, that'll help add to the effect of them floating too, because there'll be less wire to be seen. Whereas when they're really up high, you can it's easier to see the wire as it would be if they were down lower. But I wanted to put them up high, just to really kind of add to the effect that they're that this is kind of like a magical tower, and it's causing weird effects to the scenery and the terrain around it. It's pulling these weird meteor type rocks out of the ground and make them float up. So, and that's also why I had the ones kind of half coming out of the base. You can see the one on the back there. It's kind of that one's almost all the way floating out, and once that popped out, then that would float up. And I had some where they just started to come out, and some that were kind of halfway and stuff. So, and that kind of helped add to the effect of it. of the rocks floating. So if I would add some more at kind of a mid-level, I think that would have helped out a bunch. And I might even take and shorten a couple of those up and something. Now again, since you have wire though for these, I didn't want to add a whole bunch of them because then I didn't want wire everywhere where it's I tried to keep it kind of out of the way too, or right next to something where you wouldn't be able to place a model anyway, because I still want to have this be able to be playable. So I didn't want it all over in the way. So I didn't want to add a million rocks, but technically, I could add it as much as I want, and the more I added, it'd probably look pretty cool. But I think I did 5. I did 5 of the floating ones, and I think it looked pretty well, or it turned out pretty well. And then the static grass, you can see there, it's not totally dry. I just decided to add that on, but I wanted to add another color tone to the flock. I used Woodland Scenics. Let's see, I think it's medium. Yeah, fine grade. So here are some still shots you can see. Just still shots of the castle to get some better views where my hand isn't shaking all over the place. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I had a blast making this. It was a lot of fun, I didn't get as much detail work and stuff into it as I wanted, and if I would have had more time, the biggest thing I would have done was spend more time on the bricks, make them nice and even. Also, final cost of the thing was, I'm sorry I didn't get an exact, but it's kind of fluctuating due to I wasn't sure exactly how much of the cost would have been of some items I used, but it was right around, I came to around $6 to $7 was my guess, and it was like $2 in foam, and then it was pretty cheap, but it was around $7. So you could actually add another tower load to this, a bunch more details, and still keep it under $10. I know I could. So it's cheap. Foam's cheap. I love foam. It's cheap. Yeah, it takes more work a lot of times than the plaster, but hey, it's fun. So thanks again so much for watching, guys. Stay tuned. This next week's challenge is coming up really quick, and I really look forward to it. So have a good one. Keep gaming, and I'll catch you guys later.